Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds, back in the studio. It's a Monday morning. I hate to start the show off with some bad news, but we got to talk about what happened over the weekend.
Well, the passing of a gentleman who is in every single respect a legend in the Ozark sports scene. Bill Thomas, Coach Thomas, was 91 years old and not the Coach Thomas who we remembered in his final years. But still, when you think back to the legacy the man created, he was basketball here in the Ozarks for the better part of the 20th century. How so? Well, as a player and as a coach and just as a human being. His record absolutely speaks volumes. When I first moved here, Mike, I had heard the legend of the Fabulous Four. Well, I didn't know too much about it until it was relayed to me on many, many occasions. Fabulous Four were the four players for the Southwest Missouri State basketball team competing in the semifinals of the NAIA National Tournament in 1953. They finished the semifinal and won with four players on the court. How did it happen? Well, it was a matter of attrition, and three of the top players, who happened to be also members of the New York Yankees, were summoned to spring training camp and really had no recourse when players fouled out. You couldn't replace them, so they finished with four. Anyway, Bill Thomas was a member of that Fabulous Four and a member of a national championship team the year before. Southwest Missouri State won back-to-back NAIA national championships in 52 and 53 in Kansas City, and back then the NAIA was a very big deal. Bill went on into the coaching ranks when in 1964 he was an assistant coach of the Bears, and the head coach, another of the legends, Eddie Matthews, suddenly passed away with a fatal heart attack. And Bill was immediately thrust into the head coaching chores, and for the next, right up until 1980, and he retired the next 16 years, he was head of the Bears basketball team, and what basketball teams they were. Good gracious. Runner-up to national champions in 67, runner-up to national champions in 69, runner-up to national championships in 74, never could quite get over that hump. And Bill and I, we had a heck of a relationship. He asked me once if I'd be interested in doing a coaching show with him. They'd never been done before. And I asked the folks at KYTV back then. I'd been there for a whole year. Fortunately, at that time, the general manager of the station was also a member of the Board of Regents and a big fan and a former athlete. He said, it's probably a pretty good idea. For the next 13 years, Bill and I did every Saturday afternoon during basketball season, and it was the forerunner of the coaching shows that we have now. And he was just a great guest. But over and above that, he was a terrific human being. And Bill, even though he retired from coaching in 1980, was always a part of the basketball scene, both as a silent contributor in regards to his expertise, because he was a brilliant coach, and just by being around. And knowing the guy, he had a marvelous impact. All the players who he coached, from Curtis Perry to Lou Shepard to Chuck Williams, and the names just go on and on and on. And the influence he had with his successors, mostly Charlie Spoonhour. Charlie was a grad assistant under Bill when I first moved here in the late 1960s, went on to coach at junior college, and then when the opening came up in 1982, Spoon was right there, and Bill Thomas was a verbal contributor to him, helping him with it. Not that Spoon needed all that much help. He was a great coach in his own right. He coached through, and then when Mark Burnson took over, and then Steve Alford, and the list goes on, Bill Thomas was always there and always a part of it, and just a perfect human being in terms of his relationships with public. Everybody knew him. He was from Buffalo, Missouri, played high school for championship teams in Buffalo, and he was just the forerunner and the proponent of making basketball what it was here in the Ozarks. That our lives will always be impacted by what Bill Thomas had for us and did for us. Now he's the winner, because he's in the winner's circle up in heaven, and he is looking over all of this. 91 years old, passed away over the weekend, not unexpected. As I mentioned earlier, he was not the Bill Thomas who we all remembered. He had the mental deficiencies, and that's not meant as a mental illness in any way, but the fact that he didn't really remember all that much that was going on. Whether or not it was ever diagnosed as Alzheimer's, that I don't know. But over and above that, Bill silently passed away over the weekend. And it's a loss for all of us because he was a major impact on the entire Ozark sports scene.
I'm sorry you lost a friend over the weekend, buddy.
Thank you. He's a great guy, tremendous guy, and hey, it's part of life. We all go on and we pick up and move.
And some of us should be so lucky to leave some sort of impact on this world after we leave it. He did that for sure, especially in this area. So Kansas City played some games this weekend. St. Louis played some games at home this weekend. Who won?
They both were at home. It was not a good weekend for Kansas City and kind of a 50-50 one for the St. Louis Cardinals. First of all, the Cardinals were up against a team they used to own, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pittsburgh's gotten a whole lot better. That series ended in a 2-2 split, 4-game series. Each team won 2 games. Boy, I'll tell you, the Cardinals, they squirreled one out yesterday in extra innings by a score of 5-4, scoring 2 runs in the last of the 10th in a game they should have won in the 9th inning and did not get it done. Cardinals are having trouble coming up with the clutch hits, but they did get them when they needed yesterday, trailing 4-3 and get a 5-4 win. So they split with Pittsburgh, and the Cardinals tonight take on the Arizona Diamondbacks, who also are opening the season very well. Kansas City had the Atlanta Braves and lost all 4 games to them. In fact, the Braves have won 6 straight. This is a really, really good Atlanta Braves team. The Cardinals found that out, and they certainly took their measure of Kansas City. Yesterday's game was 5-4. Royals are really struggling. It's been just a tough opening for them. They just can't seem to get things completely together. Now, the Springfield Cardinals had a doubleheader yesterday in North Little Rock, Arkansas, and the Cardinals split those 2 games and are here tomorrow night. Cardinals are returning home, the Springfield Cardinals. They'll take on the Midland Rockhounds. That's the AA farm club of the Oakland A's, and the way Oakland is playing right now, that AA team might just move up to all major leagues because the major league team, the A's, are 3-14 on the year and playing terrible baseball. So the Midland Rockhounds, their AA farm club, comes in here. And who will be on the mound for the Springfield Cardinals tomorrow night? How about Adam Wainwright? He's coming down here in a rehab. Will probably throw, I'm going to guess, maybe 50 or 60 pitches, maybe 70 pitches. But right now, he's scheduled to be on that line. Let's see what happens.
Be nice to see him in town. It's always a great thing. So, kids, get your tickets for that game tomorrow if you haven't already. All right, what about the Bears? How'd they do this weekend?
Played a 3-game series in Chicago against University of Illinois Chicago. And in the 3 games, the Bears scored 37 runs. 37 runs. They had to have won all 3 games, and they did. They won one of the games. They won 19-3. Another one was 12-6. They were just piling up runs right and left, and that's good that Missouri State's getting back into the offensive swing again because they play tomorrow night in Columbia, and they play Missouri. This is the second match in 2 weeks for the Missouri Tigers. Missouri came down here and won 10-1. Bears want to make amends for that. We'll see what happens. The Drury team swept Truman State in 4 games down at U.S. Ballpark in Ozark. So our local teams came out very well, completely undefeated. Drury with 4 wins, the Bears with 3 wins. This Bears team is pretty good when they have everything together and when they can get those bats rolling, as they did. 37 runs in 3 games. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you just want to kind of move that around a little bit around. So hopefully they continue down that path. It looks like they may have righted the ship, at least for the time being. Last but not least, NASCAR over the weekend. Who got the checkered flag?
It was Kyle Larson. They ran the short track in Martinsville, Virginia. As a matter of fact, the current 3 weeks run that NASCAR is all on short tracks. Ran in Richmond, and then they had Martinsville this week. And Kyle Larson took that checkered flag. Joey Logano was second, and Martin Truex Jr. took third in that race. These are all, of course, FedEx races. They all figure into the Cup and so forth and so on, so that's the big time. But put Kyle Larson in the winner's circle for this one on NASCAR, and he's going to have another big year.
I think so. Ned, you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.